Good morning, everyone. Kate and Fiona here for this week's Facebook Live, where we're continuing our theme of being authentic. And today, we're going to dig into the divine feminine and masculine and how it plays out in terms of our behavior as leaders and in the workplace. But let's just start with talking about the distinction between the two.
Yes, I think it's really interesting to understand these archetypes that exist. And, for all of us, we both have elements of the divine masculine and the divine feminine operating within us. And just to start to tease out some of those differences, when we talk about that divine masculine, we're talking about the strategic, the task focus, being quite assertive, being action oriented, being willing, to take a few risks and really relying on logic and analysis around how we do things. Whereas when we talk about the divine feminine, we're talking about other aspects, things like being intuitive, being reflective, being caring and kind, having a lot of compassion and being heart oriented. And again, it's not about whether you're a man or a woman, it's these operate within both of us. And we tend to have a bias in certain environments for orienting more towards the divine masculine. And quite often our workplaces, in fact, most of our workplaces were set up by men for men. So they do have a bias towards the masculine. And then how can we honor all of these other elements that we know are really important that sit within that divine feminine?
Yeah, I think about my own leadership journey. Most of my corporate career had strong male leaders operating in relatively masculine, male leader environments. And, this piece around, I had an archetype called kick-ass Kate, right? And because the way I knew to be a leader was very much in that masculine energy. It's what we see. It's what is often rewarded and recognized in terms of promotion. It's doing some personal development work where I really started to look at, hold on, there is this whole other side of me that doesn't really get voiced. All these skills, all these qualities, traits in the divine feminine, the compassion, the care, the more heart-centered pieces that I was probably not really giving a voice or a truth to. I wasn't allowing that to come through. She got called kind Kate. And so at that point, I just remember having this really interesting distinction of, oh, wow, this is my dominance that I have learnt to really focus on. This is my success model. And actually, there's a whole gamut of stuff that if I allowed it to, I could leverage in terms of my own leadership style. And of course, that was the beginning of an incredible journey to kind of start to really bring my own authentic leadership style to a system, to an ET team that hadn't previously been seen. And that started to, manifest in lots of different ways. But I think what's important for us to think about is, our understanding of what's okay, what's accepted in most of the cultures that we work with is what we see, what other people do and say, what's allowed, what's not allowed. And so, in order for us to start to maybe speak that truth, bring that authentic divine feminine, whatever that looks like for you, we need to have a little bit of courage, and we need to be prepared to do some things that are different to what's currently being done more broadly in the system.
Yeah, I think this is the opportunity for us as women. It's probably to some degree a bit easier for us to access that divine feminine, to tune into it and to leverage it in whatever workplace or actually wherever in life we would like to. I think your story is very familiar to many women who've succeeded in the corporate environment. We have had to almost discount parts of ourselves in order to show up and feel like we could meet the system as it is. As we move into the current era where diversity is far more greatly valued, and we now have the stats to say, actually, we don't want that group thing. We don't want everyone around the table to be orienting to the same way of doing things. We actually want diversity. We want different voices. We want different perspectives. And we want to bring that to those decision-making tables. And I think this is where, our act of confidence number 2, articulate and share your value, really comes in, because if we're willing to actually disrupt the system a little bit, to talk about things that maybe other people aren't, if we're having a very hard-nosed strategic conversation, we're down that path, we can maybe interject with some really good questions and some really good stretching and reflections, and start to open people's minds to other ways of seeing things. And again, that's not about saying that anyone else is wrong or that we're right. It's just starting to expand what's possible for us and the group at the table. Interestingly, as we do this, other people, and some of those will be men, will pick up on, oh, gee, that was a really good way to go about getting something new into a group that's used to doing things a certain way, and they might start to adopt it. And we get a more integrated way of approaching any of the challenges that we're facing.
Yeah. And so, we call these small acts of confidence: speaking your truth, paying attention to what is most needed or what most wants to be given voice at a particular point in time, and being prepared to be a little bit uncomfortable, but to take that small act of confidence, get that feedback, and in doing so, create what we know to be a ripple effect in your system, in your organization more broadly as well. So we're going to wrap it there. If you enjoyed today's confidence conversation, please share your comments below. If you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them, or tag them. If you'd like to go deeper into your relationship with Core Confidence, head over to the Facebook page. Lots of great videos to dig in there, as well as links and resources, and over to our website, coreconfidence.com.au. You'll find more details, as well as your next step if you would like to take the Acts of Confidence journey. Take care, guys.